listening to Unravel with Natalie Denise.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to Nightly with Natalie, a segment of Unravel with Natalie Denise. Let me switch my logo here. And I hope you guys are doing well this week. I hope we're in the home stretch. I'm in the home stretch of my day. I had a very, very busy day. Oh my goodness, what did I do? Today I did an interview with I'm Just Wasim. He's on YouTube. Be sure to go check it out. He really lovely guy. Just was really interested in the grassroots movement. Asked me a lot of multifaceted questions about, just a lot of things going on, not just with trafficking, but in our own respect to like fight in our local communities. And so that was a really great interview. Again, I think it's I'll type it down here. It's I'm Just Wasim on YouTube. So look that up. I'm Just Wasim. I did an interview with him. I also did an interview with Annie Lobert. If you guys know who she is a sex trafficking survivor. You probably know her by her pink and purple hair. She's very eccentric, very colorful, and I just love that woman. I spent 2 weeks, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. We spoke at a summit together, and we got to know each other. Just really great vibes. Really great woman. So she asked me to be on her show today. And I think it airs on like a Christian network. It's like a major Christian network. But I was honored to be on her show and her learn a little bit about me. And I was really excited. It was really an honor to be on her show. So I've been in interviews since 11 o'clock this morning. Had a really important conversation with another friend in the combating industry. He is a very notable figure. So that was very cool as well. So, oh man, today was super duper busy. I was able to get 2 videos out. One is rendering right now as we speak. This will probably go up after this podcast because, it's just been super busy today. But anyway, some announcements. As always, my announcement has been Save Texas Rally, happening February 5th in Austin, Texas. Be sure to make it out. So you can go to savetexasrally.com to register, so they just can get a viewpoint of how many people will attend or intend on coming. Let me say hi to the chat. Let's see what's going on. Hello, Makwa. What's up, Keem? Keem, thanks so much for modding for me. What's going on, Marshall? Blessings from Minnesota. Natalie, you rock. Best news ever. Thank you so much, Marshall. That's a very kind compliment. I really appreciate that. Maga from Boston, from JB. Mark Valdez from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Consider this early child abuse. Jax Blackmore, former spokesman for the Temple, terminates her 3rd pregnancy. Oh, I'll have to look that up. Jax Blackmore. I'll write that down. I've been inundated with projects, so probably come down the pipeline eventually. What's up, the only Warnley? What's up, Philip? Awesome. Okay, so let's get into the news today. We're going to do nothing but trafficking news because nothing really significant came up other than border news that I did report on. Like I said, that video is rendering right now as we speak. So as soon as that's done, I will get that out on my main channel, Natalie Denise. That's youtube.com/Natalie Denise, just like that. So if you're looking for my main YouTube, that's where it is. What's up, Rana? Hey, Rana. What's up, Pink Pout from El Paso? What's going on, everybody? So nice to see you all. So let's go ahead and get started on this news, yeah? So we reported yesterday that Prince Andrew was submitting a denial report of everything, trying to debunk Virginia Roberts Giuffre's claims. As you guys know, Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who is a now Epstein accuser, along with his co-conspirators. We just saw Ghislaine Maxwell get convicted of human trafficking. Now, Prince Andrew's next on the planner. on the platter, and he's being served on a silver one. And now he submitted a denial to every single one of her claims. Now, this comes after a judge just allowed the case to go through, because remember, him and his legal team, Prince Andrew and his legal team, they were really hoping onto this last thread, that they were holding on to this last thread of hope, is what I'm trying to say, of the judge throwing out and dismissing Virginia's case. Well, that was not what happened, because after the conviction of Glenn, the case went ahead and went through. So now he's submitting his denials, basically saying, I never knew Ghislaine Maxwell, never knew Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, well, DailyMail.com composed this really, really blasted article on him, basically saying, sir, are you sure? Because we have pretty significant evidence just with ourselves as DailyMail.com. I would suggest otherwise. So this is what they're claiming. So there's 41 straight denials and further 40 assertions that Prince lacks sufficient information to admit or deny the claim that she makes, which is that, that she has been described as defiant, and more jaundiced assessment might characterize as vague and sometimes baffling. So here we go. Given a wealth of evidence already in the public domain concerning Andrew's relationship with Jeff Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, a number of his statements will cause puzzlement. On 2 occasions of the wording in his legal defense is ambiguous enough to suggest that he denies Maxwell ever being a close friend or that she introduced him to Epstein. Yet during his disastrous Newsnight interview in November 2019, he told Emily Mitless, I met him through his girlfriend in 1999, and I've known her since she was at the university in the UK. This was undoubtedly a reference to Maxwell. Ooh, good job, Daily Mail. Daily Mail's just ramping up all this evidence, all this tea. Look, this is what you said out of your mouth, Prince Andrew. You said that you knew her, or that you met Epstein through this woman, Ghislaine Maxwell, and now you're denying it. What gives? So anyway, continued on. In the same interview, he admitted flying on Epstein's planes and staying on his island. His legal responses to Robert's suit, in which she claims that she was forced, to have sex with the prince on 3 occasions rather than circumspect. While in Buckingham Palace, is declining to comment on Prince's tactics. As you guys know, Buckingham Palace, they recently in a way, they denounced him. They're standing back. They're distancing themselves away from Prince Andrew because they know that there's a possibility that there could be a big demise with Prince Andrew. And what comes with big demise with Prince Andrew comes Buckingham Palace, because we've seen photos of Ghislaine Maxwell, just pretty much flailing around in Buckingham Palace, with Kevin Spacey, and, basically being allowed there, and even, staying at the Queen's cabin. So, there is implications that the Buckingham Palace pretty much knew about this. In the U.S., lawyers said Andrew, who strenuously denies the claims of wrongdoing, was gambling on an incredibly risky strategy, but sources close to the prince insisted he was entitled to defend himself when accused of such heinous crimes. So let's examine some of the claims. Exhibit A. Prince Andrew lacks sufficient information to admit or deny that he widely published a photograph of himself, Mr. Roberts, and Maxwell exists. One of the most famous or notorious snapshots in the world was Andrew with his arm around the bare midriff of a 17-year-old Virginia Roberts. It was allegedly taken in March of 2000 on the first floor landing of Maxwell's Mews home in Belgravia. Roberts maintains that it happened after a night out in central London. It included dinner and dancing in a sweaty Andrew at the Tramp nightclub. She alleges that he then had sex with her in Maxwell's home, and he denies that such an evening and assault took place. He also said that he had no recollection of meeting Roberts. In the past, Andrew has contested the authenticity of the picture. Where, then, is the original negative? Roberts said vigorously that this was with the FBI, stored in a family home in Australia in a safe place. Oh, Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew's just digging his grave. I mean, he's just digging more and more of a hole. I mean, it's crazy. According to Panorama documentary, legal papers reveal an ex-partner of Roberts told U.S. officials he remembers being shown a copy of the picture, one of the most frequently viewed in the world, just weeks after it was taken. Roberts also took the 2019 program that was date back of the picture shows it was printed on March 13th, 2001, 2 days after it was taken. Exhibit B. Andrew lacks sufficient information to admit or deny that he and Maxwell have been photographed at numerous social events together. This is the most puzzling claim because look at these photos. Exhibit 1 or photo 1 looks to be that they're at some like really fancy occasion. Black, or it would be a black tie, but he's wearing a white tie, but you know what I mean. So he's photographed at an event at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach, Florida. One of the pictures of the prince is laughing with Melania Trump, now wife, Jeffrey Epstein, and financier Gwendolyn Beck, in whom he was said to have been smitten during a stay at Epstein's private little St. James Island the following year. Another picture of Maxwell is in a conversation with a woman standing next to Andrew as Epstein, Trump, and Melania look on. The tete-a-tete New York lunch. Here's another one. This is a costume party that he attended. I believe this is a supermodel. I'm sorry. This is Ghislaine Maxwell. This is actually, I think, Heidi something. It's like Heidi's party. Heidi Klum. There we go. November 6, 2000, Andrew attended a supermodel Heidi Klum's Halloween-themed party at the Hudson Bar in New York. Here she is, hand in hand, with her hand over Prince Andrew. He's claiming that he didn't know her like that. Oh, we weren't at events together. Sir, like, what is going through their heads to, like, make these claims so, like, blatantly when there are the pictorial evidence? He's in panic mode. Exactly right, Keem. He said, dude is in panic mode. Sure is. Sure is. And then here is a log, a Lolita Express log. J.E. met Princess Sarah Ferguson on the ground. So that's his, what? Princess Sarah Ferguson, I think, is his ex-wife. So it's like, you didn't know him? And another one, Exhibit D. Prince Andrew, Sarah Ferguson, and Princess Eugenie pictured with Princess Beatrice at her 18th birthday. Okay, so this is a family picture. What is this presuming? This is the denial. Andrew lacks sufficient information to admit or deny if he invited Epstein to his daughter Beatrice's 18th birthday party in 2006, despite Epstein being charged with the offenses, the exploitation offenses. The prince's family and his guests posed for photographs at their daughter's fancy dress event in July, even though Epstein's house had already been raided by the police. Okay, but that doesn't really show. Epstein's not in this photo, so we have to be fair. I'm just saying there is sufficient photos, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know what the claim is in that one. Andrew lacks sufficient information to admit or deny that he didn't know Epstein, that was a registered offender, during his visit to him in New York in 2010. Here he is strolling with Epstein, and I actually made a video on this famous photo. Be sure to go to my YouTube. And there's a video that I made on this very famous photo. It gives the backstory of everything, the photographer, the agency, the investigative journalist. It's a really interesting video because I spill the tea on how they arranged this and we're there. Now, just to give you guys a synopsis on this photo, it was assessed from this article that Epstein knew that the paparazzi were going to be there. In fact, it was almost assumed that Jeffrey Epstein wanted the paparazzi to take this photo. And it was also implicated that Epstein sort of, he was leveraging knowing, Prince Andy, because he knew he could use it to exploit Prince Andrew later. Exhibit F, this is him at Prince Andrew's New York home, his mansion. You can see him peeking out, waving out. And he's definitely inside. So not knowing or what, he didn't know him. And then from the Duke of York, let me know when we can talk. Got some specific questions to ask you about Virginia Roberts. This is Exhibit G, a leaked email exchange between Ghislaine Maxwell and the Duke of York. So he can't really say that he didn't know all this was going on, or that he's completely ignorant to the two, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Interesting. All right, next story coming from the Daily Mail. This one is a bit sad, really sad, but this also gives us some effect of what all this indoctrination is doing to the kids in schools. And listen to this, and you must be aware of this because this might be happening in your own households. Exclusive, they created a double life for my daughter. Parents of a girl who's 12 years old who tried to hang herself twice at school after months of secret meetings about her gender identity slammed district staff who went behind their backs and likens it to sex offenders who take advantage of a child to try to keep things in secret. This to me sounds a lot like grooming. If it's what we think it is, of these staff like trying to convince these kids like, oh, you have a different gender identity or whatever. um that's what it seems to be, that they were grooming essentially. The parents of a 12-year-old Florida girl who tried to hang herself twice at the school after months of secret meetings about her gender identity are slamming the district staff who allegedly went behind their backs and created a double life for their daughter. Wendell Perez and his family, I'm sorry, and his wife Maria Perez, alleged the staff at Patterson Elementary School, where her daughter was enrolled, violated their parental rights by failing to inform them of their alleged gender identity crisis and developing a plan to help her address it without their consent. We're talking about the staff from the school. This information is developing a plan of several sessions with my daughter for months, talking about issues that are related and that parents need to be involved. Wendell Perez told the Daily Mail on Thursday, they're basically creating a double life for my daughter. This is so sad. And again, this is why we bring up these types of stories here, when we talk about exploitation, because essentially sometimes these people, they're so radicalized by their agenda. They don't understand that they're actually acting against these children by, trying to, oh, well, let's find their gender identity, all these things. Like, we shouldn't talk about sexuality in elementary school. They should be learning their ABCs. They should be learning how to count, basic things. How are you going to confuse a child on sexuality right now? That makes no sense to me. He also likened the staff's behavior to sex offenders, saying, if we allow this to happen, we're admitting that sex offenders, the models operating the sex offenders, is correct because it's actually what they do. They take advantage of a child. They try to keep things in secret and make them do things that they are not supposed to do. Again, another process of grooming. This is essentially grooming. They isolate them. That's a part of the process. They groom them. They create the secrecy between their relationship. Definitely a sign of grooming. There should be no secrets. That's a red flag. Then when there are secrets, that's a red flag. Perez said that the lawsuit seeks to protect all parents from having their constitutionally provided rights violated. This is about parental rights. This is not about any other issues. It's about our constitutional rights and rights under the laws of our state of Florida, he said. They have been violated. Our fight and those rights have the benefit any power out there, regardless of their race, regardless of their religious beliefs, their political affiliation. It will benefit everyone. Hopefully justice will be served. So the counselor allegedly had secret meetings, weekly meetings with their daughter about her alleged gender identity crisis, but neglected to alert the parents. So let's take a listen to what the father has to say here.
The staff, we're talking about the staff from school having this information and developing a plan of several sessions with my daughter. 4 months. Talking about issues that are related and that the parents need to be involved. And they basically created a double life for my daughter. So we're not talking about an isolated incident that a little kid mentioned something. They acted on it. 4 months. What is next?
This is about parental rights. This is not about any other issues. It's about parental rights. It's about our constitutional rights and our rights under the laws of our state of Florida. They have been violated. And our fight for those rights will benefit any parent out there, regardless of their race, regardless of their religious beliefs, regardless of their political affiliation. It will benefit.
You could see the mother getting emotional in the background. I mean, could you? This is an elementary kid, who is being in a way it is coercion because, you know, it's confusing when you have all these doctrines and these agendas and teaching these kids like, oh, this is what's important, this is what you need to learn about, but it's like, this shouldn't be in the realm of what they're learning about right now, you know. So I could only imagine the confusion that kid is going through, and it's so sad. Oh man, we're going to pivot on to this next story coming from the Daily Mail. Romanian mother who was trafficked to the UK reveals she was held captive in West Midlands flat and forced to have sex with 20 men a day, and only escaped after she suffered internal bleeding that almost killed her. A mother who was once trafficked to the UK reveals how she was forced to have sex with up to 20 men a day and only escaped after suffering internal bleeding as a result of injuries sustained at the hands of her violent captors. So this is guerrilla pimping. Guerrilla pimping is violent. Elena, a mother of one, was forced into prostitution by a man she thought she loved, who threatened to harm her 1-year-old son and mother unless she flew to the UK. On arrival, she was taken to a flat in the West Midlands where she was held captive with two other victims and was starved, beaten, and burned by her Romanian traffickers. The women made up to £20,000 a day for their captors by having sex with the stream of punters, including drug addicts, sometimes for hours at a time. £20,000 in US dollars, I would believe, translates to about close to $21,000. Speaking on last night's BBC Two documentary, Sold: Sex Slaves Next Door, Elena, who is now in a safe house, explained she only escaped after she began to bleed internally as a result from the abuse she had suffered, prompting her captors to flee. I started bleeding internally. I simply couldn't walk or crawl on my knees. I was about to die, she said. She said she was rescued by police and was taken to a hospital where a consultant said she was hours away from death. Simone Lord, who works for Medell, a charity provided refuge to victims of modern slavery, said, I never seen anyone in that state before. She was also repeatedly beaten. She had been malnourished. She had burns, lots of wounds on her body. One of the consultants in there estimated she only had 48 hours to live. So I can already tell you she was it's said there right below what I just was reading that she was coerced by a lover boy, which we've gone through on this channel as a tactic. It's a Romeo pimping, lover boy, fall in love, you get coerced, you get suckered into this life, and then they turn on you like that. Very sad situation. This is one of the most extreme situations in trafficking when there is violence and it causes them almost death. All right, moving on. Convicted sex offender on the run after judge grants him 5 bonds for human trafficking. So this is a story that I always talk about with bond reform, and this is prevalently happening in Houston. Houston bond reform is definitely allowing these criminals back on the street. In fact, repetitive offenders, repetitive criminal activity, and now sex offenders, sex traffickers are back on the street. A convicted sex offender is now a wanted fugitive after Harris County Criminal District Court judge granted him 5 felony bonds on human trafficking charges. His name is Nduka Agidigbi. He went to prison for 8 years for compelling prostitution, said Andy Cahan with Crime Stoppers. He also has a possession with intent to deliver, and he also failed to register as a sex offender. According to the court documents, Agidigbi's street name is K1 or Kill Them, and he spent more than 2 decades forcing children and young women into prostitution. Yep. And Houston let him off on 5 bonds. This is what's happening. But that didn't stop 183rd Criminal District Court Judge Chuck Silverman from granting him a bond in 2019. Compelling prostitution, trafficking of persons, aggravated promotion of prostitution, trafficking of persons, aggravated promotion of prostitution, Kahan said. So he's out on 3 bonds, $100,000 each. Digby picks up picks up 2 or more felony charges, but instead of revoking his 3 bonds, Judge Silverman gives him 2 more bonds. I believe this is the same judge. If you guys remember, there was this little girl in Houston that went missing, and she was a case for CPS because there was a suspected abuse, and she went missing in Houston, and they ended up recovering her body, and she was severely abused. I believe this judge was actually over that case. She was also over the case of the recent children that were left in the apartment. You guys remember that story? These 3 children, they were left to fend and lived on their own in a singular apartment, while this mother and her boyfriend lived about 15 minutes down the road in another apartment. Now, what was horrific and uncovered at this case was that one of the little boys was beaten to death, and his corpse was left with the siblings in the apartment to rot. This judge, I believe, is the same judge that presided over a case also over child abuse. What is going on? What's going on with these judges? Now he's a wanted fugitive. Just to give you guys insight. I keep talking about the judges. Watch your judges in your local districts. This is getting way out of hand, and hold them accountable. You know, you got to call them out on social media now. Like, you know, what are you doing with this case? Why did you leave these people to, you know, reoffend and get back on the streets? It's horrible. All right. And the next story coming from Fox 4, human trafficking sting at 6 Topeka spas sees multiple arrests. This is in Kansas. Police and deputies closed in Wednesday on 6 massage parlors and spas in a human trafficking sting that saw multiple arrests, according to the Shawnee County Sheriff's Office. The sting was the result of a group of Kansas law enforcement agencies teaming up for several criminal investigations, some going back over a year ago. While several suspects were arrested for various offenses, including promoting the sale of sexual relations, the various conspiracy crimes, my office is not bound by the arrest decision, Kage said, Officer Kage. We will review the available evidence and charge any appropriate crimes, including crimes related to human or labor trafficking. Right, and that is, again, in Kansas. And these spas, this is, okay, so just a little education piece for you guys. The spas, what they look like. You guys probably know what the spas look like. You know, they are usually open. The nefarious ones are open, or the illicit ones, I should say. The illicit spas are opened past, they're open past, hours, like past 8, past 9, open until, you know, the dead hours of the night. They have neon signs that say open. You can see here, they disguise themselves as regular businesses with regular posters. But usually if you can see cars parked in the back and you can see, you know, neon signs, again, at the dead of night, you know, it's a big indicator that these guys are nefarious businesses. And it is sad, absolutely sad, but good to see that law enforcement is still taking action. All right. With that being said, I know this is a short one today, but that's what I got for you guys. And I do have a video to post, and I got to work on this podcast. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, Friday. I hope you guys have a restful night. I am definitely exhausted from today. So I'm going to go have me a good sleep, maybe a glass of wine, and watch me, I don't know, a movie, a fun movie. I'm going to go watch me, I don't know, maybe Hunger Games. Is Hunger Games a fun movie? Maybe not. I think I want to watch The Island. Have you guys ever watched The Island? I should actually do a movie review on The Island. It's with Ewan McGregor, Scarlett Johansson. It's about clones. You guys ever seen that movie? It's a great movie. I'm going to go probably watch that. And it's about organ harvesting, actually. So I'm going to go watch that movie. Anyway, you guys have a great night. I love you all. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for always watching me. And again, I will catch you guys in the next episode. And remember, February 5th, Austin, Texas. If you're a Texan, make it. make it there. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Unravel with Natalie Denise. Please give this podcast 5 stars.